Today I am talking about moving pictures where not even the golden age of Hollywood escapes Terry Pratchett's Discworld in book 10 of the Discworld Moving Pictures. This is probably the most zany, the most fun Terry Pratchett book, and that's saying something. There's so much quirkiness, so much fun in all of the books, but this one's really goes to town on spoofs, does the full Hollywood treatment, or Hollywood as it is, when the alchemists discover how to capture light and make moving pictures, and it's really quite simple. You just get a couple of imps, little demonoids, that can paint really fast, and get him working in the thing, and a guy that that cranks the handle so the whips go and makes them paint in time, basically. And pretty much as soon as it comes about, and it's not real magic, because that would get the wizards up in a tiz, but so as soon as it comes about, it just explodes. It's sort of Hollywood does. But of course, nothing's ever simple. There's always that underlying current of chaos and mayhem, and I don't know, the more we learn about Hollywood and the things that go on in there, to believe that there's demons in it, involved in Hollywood, and it's this primordial magic trying to destroy the world. It's you can sort of see it. It's not that much of a stretch, is it? Like all the crap that's coming out of Hollywood in the last few years that we're waking up to, all these horrors and stuff. But let's not dive into that, please. So Victor is a young student at the Unseen University, and he's got a bit of a conundrum. So he's lazy, the laziest person ever, but he's thoughtful lazy, and that's like the coolest or the interesting thing about him. So to be uber lazy and be overweight, that requires effort. So he's sort of fit enough to not be burdened down by weight or things like that, and he's got just enough study time to make sure he never passes an exam, because he doesn't want a real job. And if he becomes a wizard, he will uninherit a massive fortune. But to be a student, where it's pretty easy, pretty basic, gets good regular meals, doesn't have to exert himself over too much, that's the life. Catch is, can't pass or flunk his tests. So if he flunks, he's out of the university. Pass, he's a wizard, doesn't get his inheritance. So he's mastered the art of not passing, but not being low enough to be thrown out of the university. But of course, they finally catch on at the university, and this is the wizard's one. It's not a Rincewind novel, but it is a wizard's one, and we get Ridcully now, and we start to get the faculty really come into shape, and Ponder Stivens, he gets his crack at it. So to sort of force Victor's hand of getting his perfect non-score, the wizards devise a plan to basically get him out, and the exam has one question. So he either gets it right or he gets it wrong. There's no 87% now, which is the figure he does every time that he aims for. And but of course, Victor's caught Hollywood fever, and he's or the clacks, as they call them, the moving pictures. So he's caught Hollywood fever, and he's disappeared out to Hollywood, which is down on this sort of deserted beach out of our Morpork. And so he's not there. So good old Ponder Stevens, who becomes a big player in the wizarding in narrative, with Ridcully and the rest of the faculty. So the wizards really come into their own in this novel, and it's it's absolutely brilliant. So Ponder ends up getting the test. So basically, that's his little bit of good luck, and that's that builds from there. Ponder Stevens, and that's one of the subplots. But typical Terry Pratchett. So we've got the alchemists of making movies with little imps and that. People of catching on to Hollywood fever, and of course nobody is more destined, more made for Hollywood than Cut Me Own Throat Dibbler, who catches Hollywood fever in a big way, and he's made for it. The man that can sell a sausage to someone twice, not once, but twice. If you can sell a sausage to someone that's already eaten one of his sausages, that's a skill. That is a genuine skill. So, and basically he heads out to Hollywood. He enlists Detritus, the giant troll, as a bodyguard, and we start to... Detritus has been in a couple of the earlier books, and we start to get him, and when he next joins the Discworld, Detritus' story is really going to explode. But this one we start to get a little bit of his magic now, and his story's starting to come out, and that's really cool. We get to see troll mating rituals, which is back to sort of caveman primitive. You throw a rock in your would-be love's face, but his would-be love, this Ruby, has also got a bit of Hollywood fever, and she doesn't want any outdated trollish things. She wants sophistication because she's a glamorous troll singer. So, that's the troll courtship is a fun little side narrative in this book, because there's always the little subplots and that just typical, like, great writers just do that effortlessly, and Terry Pratchett's subplots are absolutely brilliant. But what's going on with the story? So basically, it's Victor and his leading lady, Ginger. They battle trolls, they create movies, and Cut Me Own Throat Dibbler is the master, and he discovers advertising in the movies and subliminal messages, and just the jokes and the quirks around all that sort of stuff is fantastic. And and Victor and that discover, or Ginger, his leading lady, who doesn't want to go back to being a milkmaid, is sleepwalking and keeps winding up on the beach out in Hollywood, and sort of Victor follows her, and they, with the aid of Gaspo, the world famous talking dog that only sort of Victor knows about, so they discover in this cave that there's evil afoot, and and that's what basically is happening. People are being sucked into this portal of Hollywood and the movies and the clacks and all the glitz and the glam, and there's this demonic thing rising up, feeding off that energy, feeding off that power, and creating its own magic, which is not real magic because the wizards wouldn't have that, so it's not real magic, but it's just Hollywood magic. It's Hollywood magic. So so that's where the plot goes, and the Ginger Victor story is brilliant, but Cut Me Own Throat, he's roped in all his nephews into the business, into the Hollywood business, and just the banter and stuff, and no classic Hollywood movie is safe, and I think that's what I love. We've got Laddie, not to be confused with Lassie, and it was also not the talking dog. The talking dog is far cooler than Laddie, but we've got trolls. One's Rock. I forget what his actual name was, but he was going to go with Flint, but he changed it to Rock. So you got that Rock Hudson sort of thing, and there's a singing in the rain moment. We've got the librarian has his moment. You can imagine a King Kong moment with that. Which is very cool. There's Cat on a Hot Tin Roof reference. There's Gone with the Wind references. I think there's Ben-Hur. There's the epic masterpiece, and it has to have 1,000 elephants. That's Cut Me Own Throat Dibbler's thing. 1,000 elephants, and the 1,000 elephant story is another just a quirky little subplot that he just weaves through these magic tales. Terry Pratchett was seriously. No one does that stuff better. There's the little Easter eggs and the little hidden treasures and the quirks and the jokes that follow on these subplots and these stories. Moving pictures, absolutely brilliant. It's always, I'd love to tell you so much more about these books as I deep dive, but I always want, I want that mystery there, and I want you to come out and read them, and enjoy them. But yeah, this is definitely the most magical, the most zany of the 41 Discworld, and like I said, that is saying something. Discworld has so much cool stuff like this, but Moving Pictures is definitely worth a read. You really start to see this world build up, and such a fantastic book. Definitely one of the best books, which I believe I've said that in every book review so far. But that's what they're like. They are really hard to distinguish, separate them from each other. This one is the absolute best because there's so much cool stuff in every one of them. Moving Pictures, no exception. Book 10 of the Discworld, Terry Pratchett's absolutely masterpiece. It's sad that he's not producing these anymore, but unfortunately, when we signed the petition, it didn't for Def to bring him back. It didn't work, but absolutely brilliant book. Moving Pictures, Book 10, Terry Pratchett's Discworld. Happy reading. Subscribe and follow for more, and watch out for those 1,000 elephants.